Welcome back to Justin Talks Villa. If you are new around here, please subscribe to the channel, drop this video a like, and drop a comment in the comment section. Right. Hot topic of the week, and something I wanted to come on and give my two penneth about. And it is a controversial one. It has set everybody off on social media. It is away ticket restructuring information that has seeped out onto some social media channels. Now, I will add that nothing official from the club has come out, and these are purely speculative messages that have come out from people that are pretty in the know. So I tend to think that there is some truth in the rumours, but I think the details of the exact amounts of percentages, which I'll get into in a minute, are probably not quite right. Well, I hope they're not quite right. I'll put it like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my opinion from both sides of the argument. I've looked into it a bit today. I've got some notes here, so I will be looking down a little bit to try and reference what I've written down. And it's important to say I always try to, people say sit on the fence, but it's not sit on the fence. I try to see it from both sides and both points of view. And I think on this issue, I've got a lot of history, obviously, of going down the Villa, and I can talk from experience of being an away fan for a long period of time, but a while ago, and I'll go into that in a bit. So I'm going to give my opinion at the end of what I think should happen, based on all of the information I will now give out. So if you are not aware of this, it dropped yesterday that there is a potential for the away ticket allocation to be restructured so that I'm going to base most of the stuff I'm talking about on a 3,000 allocation for an away game. I know there's games where there are less, like Bournemouth, and I know there are games where there are more. But for the ease of my options that I've written down, I'm going to base it on 3,000. So what is being mooted is 10% of those 3,000 will go to corporate, 20% will go to the top tier of away fans over the last however many years they decide to do it on. So perhaps this season. So from next season, it'll be based on this season's statistics of your away following, how many games you went to. And then controversially, 70% of all away tickets that will then go to a ballot. So what do we think? Obviously, the majority of away fans that go now are pretty unhappy with this outcome, if it was to be the outcome. And they are pretty much up in arms about it, which I can totally understand. I was on TikTok Live last night and I was speaking to 2 or 3 fans that go regularly away. And when I say regularly, I'm talking every single game. I won't name them because there's no point, but fans that you would all know that go to every single game, a couple of really high profile ones, and they don't think it's fair. And I understand their point of view totally. What I mean by myself having a unique perspective on this is when I first started following the Villa in the late 80s, myself and my brother, for more or less the whole of the 90s, went home and away. Very rarely missed games. And that was mainly because we were young, we didn't have any responsibilities, work didn't really come into it. We was at college and school, so we was able to have time off. It wasn't that expensive to go either in those days. So for 10 odd years, we went home and away. Now, in those days, if you're as old as me, you will remember that when you bought your away ticket, you had to queue up at the ticket office and you had a little blue card, which was about this big. and you would hand it over. They would look at the all of the teams in the league were just printed out, and there's a little box next to it, and you would just get a stamp. So you'd get away stamps. So when the announcement came out for the ticketing criteria for each game, you would be told you need 10 stamps to get in the top bracket. So we was always able to get away tickets for every single away game because we went to most of them. So we always had enough stamps to be at the top of the queue, if you like. So I totally understand the fans that are going currently, have been going for a few years, and have reached that highest category of access to tickets, to have that pulled from underneath them. I totally understand that's upsetting, because a lot of these fans, this is their life, this is what they live for, it's their passion. A lot of them, lots of people do social media now, and they do away following games and stuff, and they love that. I love that, so I can't criticise that. I think content creation in the modern age is great. If you don't like it, great, that's fine. But if you do, then people are very passionate about it. So I get that that's for some people, even revenue streams and their income might be hit by this. But for majority, it's generally about the love of the villa and just loving going. So I understand that if that had happened to me, say in '97, 7 years in, and I've got all my stamps and I can go to every game, that to be suddenly told we change it next season and there's a chance you're not going to go, I would be devastated, totally devastated. So I totally understand what they're saying. Some of them now be thinking they can't go to games. The hugely reduced allocation for the people that have got highest category. Their argument is that they have spent years going, spent thousands following the team, and they feel that needs to be rewarded. And I don't disagree with that. Honestly, I don't. I don't think that's a terrible argument. I think they are more than fair to throw that out there. A few things I don't agree with as much, which I've heard, is that there'll be random fans now going and the atmosphere will suffer. Now, I don't agree with that, because I would think whatever happens with this percentage breakdown of categories, it will still be within the season ticket population. I don't see it going outside of the season ticket population, because we've got so many season ticket holders, 20 to 30,000. So I don't see ever there'll be an allocation where it'll drop below season tickets. So you are talking about the hardcore fan base. For me, the season ticket holders are the hardcore fan base. Yes, I know the away fans are brilliant and fantastic, but the 30 odd thousand people that are season ticket holders for me are the base hardcore of Villa fans. So to say that any of those that get a ticket for an away game will be a random fan, I think is unfair. That's just my opinion. I think that's very unfair. And I also don't see that any of those getting tickets to away games would decrease the atmosphere of those away games, because a lot of them haven't had a chance to go to away games and would love the opportunity to go to away games. So I think that they would maybe even increase the atmosphere of away games, because they'll be that excited to go to their first time at Highbury, that's how old I am, at the Emirates, first time at Anfield, first time at Stamford Bridge, to experience these grounds, which I think everybody needs to experience. If you're a football fan, I know more than anybody that seeing your team away from home is a fantastic experience. It's totally different to the home experience, totally different. It's not always, I will say this, it's not always brilliant. I think there are issues with away fans, and there are issues with, there are, but that's for another day. So it's not always a brilliant experience, but 99% of the time, it's a good experience, and it's a totally different atmosphere away. You're away for the whole day. You're with your friends. You're going. You're working out how you get in there. You might be in London, so you can do a bit of sightseeing around London. Some people stay away for the night. So, a lot of people's lives revolve around these away games. So that's my opinion on the fans that are the hardcore that go away. Now, I was told last night, I asked this question to a couple of these fans, and I said, out of the say 3,000 that go, that we get allocation for away games, how many of those go to every single game without fail? And there are a lot. Now, the estimate I got back was between 600 and 800 fans that go to every single game. I'm talking Premier League, cup games, European away games now as well. Obviously, now we've been in Europe for a couple of seasons. So they estimate there's 600 to 800 that go to every single game. So that's important for when I get a bit further along in my idea. So that covers, I think, the fans that are current highest category and just below as well, why they are annoyed, and I totally understand it. I think it's valid. So now we move on to the other side of the coin, fans that can't get tickets for away games, and why they might think this is a good idea. Obviously they do, because they're going to get more access to away tickets. Just have a coffee. So a lot of their arguments is that we can't get tickets for away games because effectively, and some people don't like this phrasing, but it's an easy way of explaining what their feelings. It's that it's a closed shop. What they mean by that, obviously, for people who don't know, is that once you are in the system, if you like, once you've got those stamps and once you've got that criteria in your account, then you can just buy for every single game. And once you buy for every single game, then you are guaranteed a ticket for every single game. Now, a lot of fans, the 600 to 800, obviously do that all the time. One of the flaws in the system for me is I firmly believe this is true, is that there are plenty of fans that buy for every single game because they have to, because they're almost forced by the system to buy for every single game. And they have to, but they pick and choose which ones they want to go to. And they might go to 90% of those away games. And there might be valid reasons why they can't go to the other ones, but they can't not buy for every game because they've dropped down the pecking order. And then they won't be able to go to the games they want to go to. So they buy for every game and they get handed off to friends, family, whatever. Now, that happens. I'm pretty sure that happens. Everybody knows that happens. And I think the club know that happens. So I think this is why they're trying to close these sort of loopholes in the system. But that obviously then punishes the ones that go to 90% plus away games a season. The ones I don't feel particularly sorry for, the ones that buy for every single away game and only go to a handful of away games. And I'm pretty sure there are people out there that do that. And I think that punishes the fans that can't go to away games. So I think that's where we are sitting currently with this debate and why it's looking like a restructuring is going to happen. One of the other arguments that I've seen on social media is that fans spend a lot of money going to away games, and there is no doubt about it. We're not going to get into money in football, even though the away ticket prices are capped, so that makes it more accessible. I do agree that they spend a lot of money. Let's start with there. So I do agree. If you go to every single away game, it costs a lot of money. Travel, food, drink, tickets, accommodation for people. It's a lot of money. But what I think I don't agree with is that because you spend a lot of money, you deserve to go to every single away game. Because I am convinced there are plenty of Villa fans in that 30,000 season ticket group that, if we're given the chance to get tickets to away games, would spend just as much. I think that's fair. I 100% think that's fair. That if they were given that opportunity to go to every single away game, if they had ability to buy the tickets, if it was open to them, then they would spend just as much money. So I don't. As I say, I totally get that they spend a lot of money and go to all the games. Great, but I do think there are still fans out there that, if they could get tickets, would spend just as much. I don't see that as a reason why you should get an allocation of tickets to every single game. I think that's fair. I think you will agree that's fair. And I also think that people's circumstances change as well. As I say, in the 90s, I went to practically every single game, home and away, myself and my brother. Now, the end of the 90s into the 2000s, my circumstances changed. Like a lot of people, I got married, I had kids, I got a mortgage, I got a full-time job. So I wasn't able to go to those games. And over time, my ability to go to away games, my availability to go to away games just dropped off to a point where I just went to home games. I've always been a home season ticket holder. So my compromise, when my children were small and when my job was dictating when I could and couldn't do things was to compromise and say to my wife and my children, I'm not going to go to away games anymore. I'm going to spend time, obviously, with you, which is what I want to do, and that's just something I'll give up. And I don't regret that at all. I love my children, and that's why I didn't go to away games. I carried on going to home games, but it's only half an hour up the road, so that was fine. But now my circumstances have changed again. My kids are older, they're at work. My job allows me to have a bit more time off. So I can now go to away games. And I think people that have had that history of going down the Villa, you know, they're just, I'm just as passionate as a fan that's gone to every single away game this season. I did that for 10 years. And if social media had been about then, I probably would have been on social media and doing this in the 90s, but it wasn't. So I think to disregard fans that have had that experience and have done it for a long time, I think that's a little bit unfair as well. So I think, to say that I've done it for 6, 7 years, so I deserve to carry on doing it. I did it for 10 years in the 90s, but I don't. Nobody would expect. I don't expect to go to Villa and say, I went for 10 years in the 90s before a lot of these kids that go now were even born. So can I jump to the front of the queue because I've got that 10 years history? No, that's not fair. You drop away from the system and you have to start again. I think everybody appreciates that, and I think that's fair as well. So yes. So as I say, the flaw in the system is that fans in this system are forced to buy for every single game, especially as we are now very, very good. We're a good side. We are exciting to watch. We win a lot of games. So they sort of have to buy for every game. And then, you've got the top ones that go to every game. Great. You've got the ones that go to 99% of games, 90% of games. And even the ones that go to sort of 70, 60, 70% of games, I don't blame them at all for buying for every game, because you are going to maybe, I don't know, 14 out of the 19 away games. So, if you can dedicate and they've got the money to do that, then you deserve, I think, probably to be able to go to those games when you can. The ones that are only going to 4 or 5 away games but are buying for every away game, I think that's unfair. I think there's opportunities for other fans to go. So I think that by default, this is why a change to the system is happening. I think the club recognise this, and I think they are trying to put into place a new system that will still reward the ones that go all the time with their loyalty and their dedication and their money that they've pumped in to follow the club all around the country. But they want to open it up now to more fans that would like the opportunity to go to away games and experience that as a Villa fan. And I think that's where we are sort of going to now. But I also understand by changing this system for the people that exploit it for their gains by only going to a handful, you are by default punishing the most loyal away fans, and that's why they are unhappy. And I can see why they are unhappy. I totally get it, and it is unfair to give 20% to that group. I genuinely think that's unfair. So but I will say there are still thousands of Villa fans out there just as dedicated and as loyal and as passionate that would love to go to away games, and they deserve the chance to go. So as much as I am in the camp of totally understanding the loyal fans that go to all the games, I'm also in the camp of wanting more of a spread of fans to experience going away with Villa. So this is where I'm at with what I would do. So I think the 10% to corporate, 20% to current top tier away fans, and 70% to the ballot isn't a bad idea. But they have got the percentages wrong. That's where I'm at. I would think, and this is just what I've written down here, and it could be tweaked, that 10% to corporate, I think that's acceptable. And then I would drop 45% to the loyalty group and 45% to the ballot. So I would split the 90% tickets remaining equally amongst the fans that are the loyalists and the fans that want to experience away games. I think an even split of those tickets. Not everybody will be happy with that. I get that, but we've got to find a way of keeping as many people as happy as possible. You're not going to keep everyone happy. So for a 3,000 away game capacity tickets, you would still have 300 going to the corporate. You would have 1,350 going to the loyalty-based criteria, and then you would drop 1,350 into a ballot. Now, based on what I heard the other day, 600 to 800 fans are the ones that go to every single away game. And for me, they need to be ring fenced, looked after, and totally, not worry about that they are going to get their tickets to away games. And I think by 1,350 covers whatever that number is. It might be more, I don't know, it might be less. This is just what I'm getting from people that go regularly. Then I think that's fair. And then you've got 1,350 potentially new fans going to every single away game and enjoying that experience. What do we think? So this is my idea. I hope you think I've been fair with what I've said. I think I have. I think I've been fair to both sides of the argument. I think I've tried to give a fair summation of where both of those sets of fans feel they should be, want to be. Have I got it right? Have I got it wrong? Are there things that you disagree with what I've said? Please drop a comment in the comment section. Drop this video a like and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot. There's lots of stuff coming up soon, and there are memberships available if you would like. Thanks, as always, for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. I hope it's given people a few food for thought on this very divisive subject, but I think something is definitely coming down the line. I hope it's something that most fans will appreciate and think is fair, but I'm not holding my breath. So speak to you all soon. Up the Villa.